Hi, my name is Jace, and I will be telling you about endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis is the process when proteins are too large to go into the cell membrane without the use of energy. The cell membrane creates a vessel around the protein and is pushed through the cell membrane into the cell, so the proteins don't have to use energy. Another way to remember is endocytosis is kind of like enter into the cell membrane. And here is how endocytosis works. Here in the green dots you have the proteins, and these proteins come to the cell membrane, and then the cell membrane opens up a spot, and these proteins are able to come into the cell membrane. And then a vessel is formed with a whole bunch of proteins in it, and later, eventually, these proteins get into the cell membrane, and that vessel here is eventually opened up, and these proteins can exit out into the cell, and the cell can use them. Exocytosis is the process when used proteins that the cell doesn't want. The cell membrane creates a vessel around the proteins and is forced through the cell membrane out of the cell. Another way to remember exocytosis is kind of sounds like exit or exiting the cell membrane. And here's how exocytosis works. Here we have proteins that want to come in and give proteins to the cell, but here are used proteins that need to leave, and so these proteins make their way towards the cell membrane, and the cell membrane opens up a passage here so the proteins can enter their way in here, and the cell membrane closes shut on the proteins and later makes its way out of the cell membrane. Here's a picture of both endocytosis and exocytosis, and right here, this picture right here is the endocytosis, because you can see that the proteins here are coming in and forming a vessel and going into the cell membrane, and here you can see that the proteins and that this is exocytosis, and the proteins here are formed a vessel around the proteins and are making their way out of the cell membrane, and so those used proteins can get out of there. Endocytosis are important to the cell process because they help important and non-important things to get in and out of the cell, so the cell doesn't get full of junk or needs proteins, and so the cell can survive, and that is why endocytosis and exocytosis are very important. Thanks for watching, and I hope you know the difference between endocytosis and exocytosis. We'd like to give credit to these websites for letting me use these pictures in my project. Thanks to sites.google.com and www.wwnorton.com. Thanks for watching again. And don't forget to answer those 3 questions about endocytosis and exocytosis.